Hi, I'm Joan Newcomb, and today's Mystic Minute is Life is a marathon, not a sprint. We come into these bodies as consciousness, as spirit, as infinite beings, used to things happening instantaneously, used to experiencing everything as joyous and free. And the first thing we notice is that life is pretty compact, dense, and uncomfortable. That's why babies cry. It's cold. These bodies are little tiny bodies, and we're in this restriction. So life is a lot of restriction. It's also a lot of joy. It's a lot of fun to be here and to navigate. And we are always trying as body to replicate consciousness, and our bodies are always trying to go towards that higher feeling space. And as consciousness, we are always coming more and more into form. Both of these sensations are happening simultaneously. Consciousness bringing greater awareness into form, form trying to be as high as consciousness. Now, you will have moments of joy and ecstasy and delight and fun in physical form. And the thing I also find navigating life as consciousness in form, the more lined up it is, the more as consciousness I focus in the present moment, the less painful and uncomfortable it is. And it's never a static point. We're always course correcting. And the misinterpretation is that it's all supposed to happen now. In the present moment, when you're in presence, when you are present, it is happening all in the now. And it doesn't mean that it's all happening at once. Well, I want it now. I want it to happen now. I want my manifestation to be instantaneous. I want my stuff now. That's how your body is responding to it. And as there's a level of that's not consciousness, and we think it's consciousness that goes, well, I should be able to manifest this instantaneously. And oh, look, I manifested this instantaneously, so I'm not doing it right unless I'm doing it like this. That's actually still in the perception of body personality. Consciousness is in the moment of all experience and all sensations, and it really is just enjoying being here, being present. So there's the part of you that is either racing to catch up, that is trying to get something it doesn't think it has, that wants it to happen now, that feels like it isn't happening fast enough, that needs to do stuff that creates shortcuts, that is basically acting as if life is a sprint. In this physical form, life is more of a marathon. And this is full of contradictions because as consciousness, things can happen instantaneously. And as consciousness, this whole lifetime happens in the blink of an eye. So you could say that, yeah, from the perspective of consciousness, it's a sprint. But operating as consciousness in form is knowing that there isn't any hurry, that it's all here to be enjoyed, and that it is a marathon rather than a sprint. Okay, and so I didn't do track in high school, so this is my best approximation. I can relate as a writer because I always used to write short stories, and then I started writing novels. So there's a different process when you're writing a short story than when you're writing a novel. There's a different process when you are sprinting to something than when you are marathoning. A marathon is a different management of your energy. It's a different awareness of your goals. A sprint is trying to get there as fast as possible. I think both ways. You don't want to pull any muscles and you want to stay hydrated. No, you're not staying hydrated when you're sprinting. You don't have time to drink any water. There you go. So we forget about that. The whole reason for being here is to experience life. Consciousness creates physical form to experience life in. This body, your body, is your vehicle for your greater consciousness to experience this reality. So everything about it, it is enjoying, even if you perceive it as discomfort. You may kind of notice when you have something tough comes up, there is a part of you that is like, oh great, let's go into it. And it's the little part of us that goes, no way, Jose, we're out the other door. And that's part of navigating life is, okay, are you going to navigate as your body? Is it going to navigate as your personality? Or are you going to navigate as consciousness? And guess which one brings the most joy, effortless ease, grace, and ultimate rewards. What you are hoping to experience and what you're hoping to manifest comes about when you are navigating as consciousness, as your higher self, not as your personality. It doesn't have to take a long time to know this. Some people are born with this inner awareness. There's more and more people born with their inner wisdom fully operational. You may just be listening to this for the reminder. Oh, thank you. I'm going to stop and have a cup of coffee. In general, I notice that if I have to make a decision now, and it has to be really dramatic, and it has to do with like amputating and cauterizing the wound and moving forward, that's all not myself as consciousness. That's not how consciousness truly navigates in the world. That's how my little personality, my Napoleon self, my crazy Chihuahua self is navigating, thinking that it's consciousness. Imagine 100 plus years ago when people were going on an expedition. It wasn't going to take a short airplane ride. It was going to take months and months of their lives. And so they had a different perspective of getting ready for the journey and being on that journey. They kept diaries. They sent messages back to their loved ones. It's going to take months, if not years, to get back to them. And this isn't dissing the instantaneous experience that we have with technology. I love it. I love going on Twitter and being able to follow at Sweden filming their trip home from work when it's 4 o'clock in the morning for me, and they just did that. And I remember riding the Tunnelbana a couple years ago when I visited, and when I was a teenager when I lived there. I remember those things. It's a visceral experience of being everywhere at once. We love that. Technology replicates consciousness. And I would just suggest that if you're wanting to navigate your life as your higher consciousness, if you would like your life to reorganize in a way that is with less discomfort, more joy, grace, and ease, start to approach it like it's a marathon and not a sprint. It's not a weekend road trip. It's a multi-year road trip. But Joan, what if I only have 6 months left to live? That's actually some people suggest, live as if this is your last day. Great, live as if you're in total fear and survival mode. It really means live in the present moment. And actually, people who have had diagnoses and predictions of 5 years, when they have completely shifted how they live their life, suddenly that timeline goes on forever, much longer. When you're living life as consciousness, that is actually not part of the equation, because you as consciousness do live forever. You are immortal. There isn't that life or death push. That's another thing to notice. If you're coming from a life or death push, you're not navigating as consciousness. So we're always kind of feeling a conflict because it is completely different existing in the realm as consciousness and existing in physical form. But it doesn't work to yourself as consciousness to navigate totally by the rules of physical form. The lower level density is really, when cars are careening around with personalities at the wheel rather than full-fledged consciousness. We will see a complete change in the world when more of us start operating as consciousness. And I could question that interpretation as well, but for now, navigate your life as a marathon and see how the things you might have been struggling for years just suddenly start to come about. Watch how your life transforms. If you like these videos, you can subscribe to them on YouTube. You can also sign up below to get them in your inbox. If you want to know more, my website is joan-newcomb.com. I have a weekly radio show podcast. I also write a weekly blog and newsletter. I do meetups around the Puget Sound in Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, University Place. I do monthly webinars. And if you want to know how to navigate your life with these consciousness techniques, if you'd like a whole toolkit or toy box of ways to navigate life as your greater consciousness, go to joan-newcomb.com and look at my coaching programs. So go to joan-newcomb.com and I'll see you in another couple days with another Mystic Minute.